I've been digging through the chambers of my mind to find some inspiration for this episode, but I found inspiration in the word itself, what it means, and what's the difference between taking inspiration from something and outright copying something. Today we're going to be talking about that, and I'm a bit confused by the clouds, but that's not important. What is inspiration? In simple terms, a spark of an idea, some feeling that gets you to create something new. Taking inspiration means using a similar concept but in your own style and making it work, whereas copying something, just you are copying the whole thing. And inspiration can be taken from technicalities of an art or the style or the composition or from people. We call them muse, somebody that inspires you, or inspiration can be arguably kind of overlapping with motivation, because if you're not inspired to do something, then that motivation is lacking. Although you can combat that with discipline and schedule and sticking to them, mostly they go hand in hand. Because if you are not inspired to start a project, then you'll not be motivated by it. As an example, your daughter sees herself as a princess, and she wants a dollhouse or a tree house. That to you as a father motivates you to get inspired. You see what she likes, and it motivates you to get your tools and get to work. But that is one kind of inspiration, or one that is motivated from the outside. Now, let's say that you are an artistic mind and you fall deeply in love with somebody. Well, that inspires you to write about her or make paintings, do lots of artistic and creative stuff just because she sparks that creativity in you. You may be inspired characters from her, or she triggers something deep within you. Again, you wake up, you get your pen and quill or your Word document up, and then you begin doing your work, writing. And most of the times, the writings and the art inspired from people that is born from love for that person. Even technical things like building your daughter a dollhouse or a tree house. You'll find out that if somebody else asked you to do it, paid you money for it, you'll be like, no, I'm good. I cannot get the same result motivated by something else. Unless money inspires you and you like to be quite lavish and so on with your lifestyle. But yeah, inspiration is something that sparks something within you that triggers that motivation to for you to start working on something artistic or something that is more technical, something that serves a purpose to somebody else. And inspiration can take the forms of a person, an action, a family member, even abstract things like celestial bodies and nature or events that are happening. Words are quite inspirational. People's stories are inspirational. So, what am I getting to here? Well, first of all, inspiration leads to creating something for yourself. You're getting inspired by someone's story, by their trials and tribulations, be it a fictional or real character, real person. And you find yourself in similar situations, and then you think what they have done in that situation. And here, I'm not saying that you're going to emulate what they've done, but you are going to get that spark of mindset that will trigger something within you to push forward and not give up, essentially, because most of the stories are about this: do not give up, because even if you fail once, you fail twice, fail three times, you learn. And the more you learn, the more experience you'll get, and the easier decision making are going to be. And sometimes those inspirational stories, they work if you are putting the work in and you are motivated enough, and the circumstances are not in such a nature that are going to make you literally waste all your creative juices and so on. Then that's okay. Now, I talked about inspiration in art earlier, emulating the composition, the color palette, the word styles, the rhythm, the musical chords. Giving more examples here, it is said, and this is quite commonly known in today's day and age. Let's talk about music a bit. Well, lots of popular music, they have the same kind of chord structure, and they all sound the same, as some people might say. However, a lot of people claim that they haven't copied anybody, and sampling, in my opinion, is copying actually. When you have, now I'm going to give a bad example here. There's that song of that is trying to emulate I'm Blue, that famous song, and they've made this into such an annoying song, and they say, oh, we got inspired with sampling. No, you copied everything, every aspect of the song, only you changed the lyrics and the instruments. That's it. That's not an inspiration. If it was an inspiration, you'll probably emulate the chord progression, you would create something based on that, you would choose your own musical style, not blatantly copy. And yeah, artists copy from each other, but when do you copy? When you're a beginner. That's when you copy, because you're still figuring out, you're still meandering through the waves of life and through the waves of this artistic craft that you are getting into. You cannot learn how to paint if you haven't copied a line that someone made on the internet, or if you haven't copied the color style. That is when copying is okay. There are a few things that are kind of stepping on the line here, and there are like shows on YouTube that kind of try to not copy but kind of emulate. See, they see that something has worked for somebody else. They're trying to do the same thing. Thumbnails, for example, in this day and age, it's hard work in thumbnails. This is why, like, yes, I'm not focusing much on my thumbnails because I want my videos to speak for themselves. But at some point, I'm going to be needed to, and I'm having big plans on working on different thumbnails based on my resources. But everybody has this big YouTuber face, scared or surprised or whatever, showcasing big emotions, trying to get your attention to them, or using clickbaity words and so on. Yes, I'm guilty of that sometimes because I have to try different strategies to see what works and what doesn't. But I don't like doing it, and if I can avoid it as much as possible, I will. Now, there's shows that have copied Equals 3. And if you remember Equals 3, legend. Ray William Johnson, well, he was a legend. And I think he still is. I don't know if he's gotten through any controversy, but I'm talking about 2010, 2011 Ray William Johnson here. The guy who was entertaining, the guy who was, putting that show out there. I believe it was every Thursday or something. I'm forgetting. That was something funny. And in other different countries, people have taken that concept. And I'm going to emphasize on the concept here, because they haven't copied their videos like some people are doing nowadays with Mr. Beast videos, when they copy idea by idea, shot by shot, section by section. That's not inspiration. That is blatantly copying somebody big, trying to, and you're trying to make it. But that depends on the budgets and motivations of people. If they're getting motivated by money, they will find the means to do it. But let's take a step back here for a bit. what is my own personal motivation here on YouTube? Well, probably stated before that I want to create a wholesome community. If the channel is going to grow, that's going to come as an added bonus for us. And I'll be treating it as a business, and I'm going to give it my full time and attention. And just trying to get like minded individuals and people to enjoy this content that I'm creating. Because let's be honest, I've seen a lot of other people starting to like this kind of long form content, relaxing and not clickbaity or I don't know, fast paced. Yes, I have my cuts, but the reason why you probably see so many cuts, and you'll probably notice is if you're going to watch my live streams, I tend to pause a lot, and my my speed of talking is quite slow. And sometimes when I'm trying to get an idea across, I get a bit slow because if you're watching my video, I don't want to rush you. I want you to experience this as if you're reading a book. And when you're reading a book, you're like, oh, you're taking your time and it's going getting at a slower pace, and you find that time to kind of meditate onto what you're hearing or reading and so on. Forgot what I was doing here as a side note. Yeah, that's my style of content. I want to get you through my videos as if you're taking a break from all this super fast speed of everyday life, because our brains they're not up to date yet with the latest softwares where you just have to keep up with all this bombardment of information that we're getting every single day. Um, so yeah, this is my content. Has to be slow and so on. And what inspired me? Because we're talking about my channel now and what's my inspiration. People who I like, honestly. I got the inspiration to start this channel and the motivation, because they go hand in hand, as I said, came from the Imp and Skis podcast, the very first one, where they talked about the topic, what is stopping you? And I've been asking that question ever since I watched that episode. What's stopping me? Yes, I had the lack of resources, but now I don't have the best or biggest computer. I bought something that works at a reasonable budget, and I'm making do with what I have, and slowly I'm just upgrading. For example, today I just received my new microphone, and I'll be testing out for the next episode. Let's touch a bit on artistic inspiration. Have you ever looked at a painting, listened to a song, and you got this feeling that you want to create something based on that, or that it has sparked something within you, and you use that and you develop your own idea, then you realize it doesn't really work when you read it later on. uh, I'll have two things to say here. First of all, if something doesn't work your way, you like it at first, then you look back at it and you don't really like it anymore, then find out why you don't like it anymore and make it beautiful, make it the way you would want it to be. Let's say that you're writing a poem and you got inspired by an instrumental music piece, and you kind of want to write that poem about the moon, for example, and then you just read it back after 10 days or 2 weeks or so on, or 6 months. I would recommend reading your work back after 6 months after it's done. And let's say after 6 months you don't like it anymore. Then you're like, oh, what am I doing here? What was in my mind? Well, you make it work, because inspiration changes over time and our preferences change over time as well. We touched on inspiration, where it comes from, why we're getting inspired. I didn't speak about why we're getting inspired. Well, some people get more inspired than others, obviously. Uh, but it's usually people who have that artistic flair that get this inspiration, this feeling of creation. Because inspiration will lead to creation of something. Inspiration is not a carbon copy of what you're seeing or what you are admiring. It's the catalyst towards the result that you want to create. It's the catalyst between that feeling, that subject that um, sparks this creativity in you, this feeling, and your final result, that art, that dollhouse for your daughter, that painting, that song, that poem, that book. And sometimes inspiration comes from weird places. Sometimes it is best not to question them. Some people call it religion, some people call it spirituality, some people call it coincidences. Just take it and don't argue with it. When inspiration comes, take it, because you might not see the opportunity. And here's a here's a really interesting example that I found. I used to listen to Steve Vai quite a lot, and he has this song called "For the Love of God." He had this earworm, this piece of music that he could hear, but he couldn't like piece it together where it came from and so on. And then he started putting it on the guitar, and from there it developed. And there are other artists as well who are doing this. Nowadays everybody focuses on technicalities rather than inspiration, and I'm on bit on the opposite side. I focus more on inspiration and the symbols and the catalysts to the final result rather than on technicalities. I know technicalities are important because you want a polished result, you want a result that kind of honors that subject where you got inspired from. If you're only focusing on technicalities, or if you're only focusing on inspiration, you might have something that looks semi decent, but then it's not going to convey the whole message. Because if you really love someone and you you say that, oh, I got inspired to write her a poem, and you just say, oh, roses are red, whatever, violets are blue, you've already dug your own grave to divorce before you even get married, or before you even get to say that you like her. But if you put, like some decent words and into it, and you're putting some effort, then that'll be obvious. Same when you're painting her, you're not going to just make her as a stick figure. You're actually going to put some effort into it. Now, if you focus mostly on technicalities, yes, you might actually do a perfect carbon copy of what you are imagining. But if you're lacking that inspiration, that will be obvious. And I've met quite a few examples of people actually putting in, writers, painters, drawers, whatever, graphic artists. You notice it straight away when someone puts in some passion into it. When they use their inspiration to create, as opposed to when they're only focusing on technicalities. The result, if you're focusing only on technicalities, results in something bland and something very calculated and something very mathematical. And yes, science and art is mathematics, but if you only keep the science part, then you might get a good result, but maybe you'll feel like something is lacking, because you'll probably only manage to trick people into believing your message, or instead of you believing in it yourself. Yeah, that's my thoughts on inspiration versus copying. In short, inspiration is the emulation of a small technicalities of a feeling, or of a person, of an event, and transposing it into an action, into a result, into a piece of art, to something tangible. Coupled with motivation, it can lead to great results. As I said, often they go hand in hand. And that kind of brings us to the end of our conversation, because I literally have no inspiration for this video. But that's my thoughts, that's my opinions, and I take it as a professional advice, or professional, whatever I'm saying here. This is based on my own opinions, what I've read and what I've researched for it. Because honestly, inspiration to me has been always different. And it came in different forms, in different shapes, in different circumstances. And sometimes it kind of blurs the line between, inspiration to do something or to create something that is your own with your own twist and outright emulating and copying. But if you decide to copy something, just keep it for yourself because you like it, or just say that is a copy. Because sometimes, yes, what you are copying, but it's no shame to admit it. If you're saying that, yes, man, I'm trying to copy, I don't know, Mr. Beast, or I'm trying to copy that person's dressing style or whatever. If you admit it, then if it makes you feel good, then go for it. But if it makes you feel inspired to create something that's even better, and you're just stripping down the details and add your own onto that composition, onto that bare skeleton that I mentioned earlier. Now, let me know what inspires you. I'm curious what inspires you in life, and what inspires you to not be necessarily artistic, but what motivates you to push further? What inspires you to motivate others, actually? What stories? What is your favorite story? Thank you very much for sticking around. I'll see you next time. Take care and goodbye.